is the Chullin one and which one is the Kachim one. Now, there may not be any difference to this, but nevertheless, just in reading the Mishnah, I think the Rishonim discuss what the difference would be. Amar Rav Kana, that's the Chaf, the second one. Rav Kana explains, Mistabra, Reisha b'Chulin v'Seifa b'Kachim. The first one is Chulin and the second one is Kachim. Mimai, how do you know that? Mi diktani ha-sheichet, because it says someone that shechts. V'isal kadaitach Reisha b'Kachim. And if we want to say that the Mishnah started off with the word ha-sheichet, someone that shechts. If we want to say that it's referring to Kachim, hamoilik mi ba'ilei, it should have said someone that does malika. That's what you do by a bird. Elamai, rather what? Seifa b'Kachim. We have to say that the Reisha was Chulin, the end is talking about Kachim. If that's the case, Shchitase Ksheira, Melikase Ksheira. Why do you say the Shchita is valid? You should have, that's the concluding part. You should have said the Malika is valid. Mi ba'ilei, it should have said. When it says Halei Kasha, that is not a problem. Because I did the Salak mi behema, Taninam Shchitase Ksheira. Because it concluded saying about an animal, which you don't do malika on an animal, even if it's kachim, so it had to say shchitas ksheira, so therefore it concludes with shchitas ksheira, which could be applicable to both, even though it's more specific on the bird, it should have said malika. Ela reisha, but if it's the reisha, michti, al oif kai, it's referring to the bird. Isal kadaitach bekachim, if it would enter your mind to say that it's referring to sacrifices, hamaylik mi baile, it should have started off saying hamaylik. Okay, so that is Rav Kahana's interpretation of how he knows that the first part of the Mishnah is Chulin, regular animals, and the end is Kachim. Rav Simi Barashi Amar, we're at the last of the first three. Rav Simi Barashi says, Reisha b'Chulin mehacha. I'll prove it to you that the first part is referring to Chulin. Diktani echad ba'oif, because it says, Hasheichet echad ba'oif, shechts one by a bird. And if it would enter your mind to say that it's referring to sacrifices, there's two bird sacrifices, the Eily Sa'if and the Chata Sa'if. The Eily Sa'if you have to cut through both pipes. The Chata Sa'if you're only allowed to cut through one. But it shouldn't have said Echad Ba'if, one by a bird, if it's referring to sacrifices, because there is one bird that you have to cut two. That's the Eily Sa'if. Elamai, rather what? Seifa b'Kachim. You have to say that the end part of the Mishnah is referring to the sacrifices. Roi v'echad ba'if says that if you cut the majority of one by a bird, doesn't fit either. If that's a real concern, that we're discussing also the Eily Sa'if, it doesn't fit in the Reisha, because it says echad ba'if, one by the bird. It's not an Eily Sa'if, you have to cut both. Go to the end of the Mishnah. It says Roi v'echad ba'if, majority of one by a bird. That's not good either. The Eily Sa'if has to be two. So the Gemara explains, no. The Seifa could still be talking about an Eily Sa'if. See, the difference in the language here is the Reisha says Rubi Shalachad Kamayo. It says Echad Ba'if, one by a bird. That's the Reisha. The Seifa is Roi v'echad ba'if, the majority of one by a bird. So, my Roi v'echad, when it says the majority of one, what does that mean? Roiv kol echad v'echad, the majority of each one. Ubedinu d'lisnei Roiv shnayim, it could have really taught the majority of both. But given the kachatas, but because I also have a chatas, the sagali b'chad simen, that it's enough to have one sign, so mishum hachi like psikale, therefore, it doesn't explain it well enough. It doesn't make it so explicit what it's referring to allow us to translate it in two ways. It makes it ambiguous. So I could read it as Roiv Echad, the majority of one, and that means it's referring to a chatas, that's valid. You only need to get through the majority of one. And I could read it the majority of each one, and it's referring to the Eily Sa'if, which I have to cut both, but the majority of both is also good. So it specifically left it ambiguous to allow us to do both of those interpretations, the translations. Rav Papa says, Reisha b'Chulin mehacha. He has his own, we're up to the next word. the siman. Papa says the first is talking about Chullin, the beginning of the Mishnah is Chullin, mundane animals. Diktani, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Shiyishchet Esavridin. Rabbi Yehuda says that you have to shech the arteries. Upligi Rabbanala, and the rabbis argue. If we say it's referring to Chullin, Shaper, we understand why the rabbis argue. But if it's referring to sacrifices, Amai Pligi Rabbanala. Dr. Stein, this was your discussion. Why would the rabbis argue if you didn't cut the arteries? You need the blood. It's not going to work. The whole sacrifice was to get the blood. You don't cut the blood by kachim. That's not going to work. So the whole machlekes, now we've narrowed the machlekes, Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan down to Chullin, and by an animal, apparently it's still no machlekes.
It says that it's not the blood because of the shechita to drain the blood. It's the blood sprinkled on the mizbeach.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. Right, because we need the blood to sprinkle. Thank you. Okay. Ravashi says, Seifa b'kachim mihacha. He proves that the end of the Mishnah is referring to kachim because it teaches hasheichet shnei rashim ke'echad shchitasik sheira. Someone shechts two karbanis together. Two heads together, it's valid. Hasheichet, di'evet in lechatchila lai. It's only b'di'evet. Lechatchila, you're not allowed to do that.
What does that mean, two together?
That means you would have two animals together, lined up. And you just moves this long knife along and it cuts both. It makes sense to say that by kachim, lechatchila, you're not allowed to do this by sacrifices. Haino de lechatchila lai. We understand why lechatchila you shouldn't. Mishum de Tani Rav Yosef, because Rav Yosef teaches, it says l'tzeinchem tizbachu in the pasuk. Willing for your will, you should slaughter it. Now the word tizbachuhu is written without a vav in the middle of the word. That u sound is added as the three dots on the bottom in a diagonal, the shuruk or kubitz, however you call it. So, but I don't have the vowel of the vav, which is the full u sound, right? So it says tizbachuhu, but really if I would read it without the vowels, I would read it tizbachehu. Now the difference is tizbachehu is, you see, a tuf at the beginning of the word means you, but a tuf and a vav at the end of the word would mean you, plural, you all, y'all, right? So that becomes a plural you. So because it says tizbach, it doesn't have that vav, tizbachu. The hu at the end is the object suffix. That's the object. The subject would be the tuf in the vav, but there is no vav, so it's just a singular. So tizbach teaches me that you can't have two people slaughtering one sacrifice. That means you'd have two people holding onto the knife. Maybe there's a handle on each end, or maybe they're both holding onto one handle. That you're not allowed to do. Tizbachuhu. That you shouldn't have one person slaughtering two.
I believe we had this case in Menachem maybe where there's a big knife and each one holds onto one side.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't we?
It could be.
Yeah, I think we had this.
What about in bris milah, where sometimes the father I've seen will hold with the shaychet the hand at the same time to be kind of
right.
Yields, not the shaychet, the mother.
Oh, do it right.
No, I'm saying it's two people.
Yeah, I don't know more about this. I don't know if it helps. I don't know. Not sure. When you come to a Siyam Sefer Torah, you hold the Sefer's hand.
Right.
And
we already drew the outline.
You already drew the outline, and I'm wondering if that's really what do you say? They do it. It seems like it's for the show. What would happen if someone puzzled to write the Sefer Torah? Would be holding the hand. Would that invalidate it? No, it can't be. So it must be the. Anyway, okay. So I'm not sure what that does. I'm not sure. Okay. So it must be that it's referring to Kodshim. You see, what's going on here is that the following Mishnah, which is on Lamed Amid Bais, says Hashechet Beis Rashim Keachad Shchitase Kshera. You shech two heads together, it's valid, but it's only b'di'evet. Why is it only b'di'evet? It should be even l'chatchila. So what we're doing is we're combining the end of this Mishnah to the beginning of the next Mishnah. So how can you do that? It's a different Mishnah. The answer is that this was just a printer's job to put the Mishnayos divided up according to the Gemara. That's not the original. The Mishnayos was originally just Mishnayos. It was written as Mishnayos. We interspersed this commentary of the Gemara to allow us to read it easily. So the end of this Mishnah that says Roi vechad bayf Rav Shnayim b'mem shchitas kshera, and then it continues with Hashechet Beis Rashim Keachad. We're going to assume that it's all talking about the same topic, and it's the second one. Mishnah is referring to Kachim, so that would be the lead-in. And Rav Kana Tizbachei Yuksiv, and Rav Kana says that because it says Tizbachehu, that means only one person should do the shchita. Eily amrit b'chulin. But if we say that the end of the Mishnah is talking about chulin, afil lechatchila namina, afil lechatchila nami, even originally you should be able to shecht two heads together. Even Reish Lakish, that would be Rabbi Steinsaltz's shin at the last in the Siman. Even Reish Lakish, Reb Shimon ben Lakish holds that the beginning of the Mishnah is chulin and the end is kachim, is referring to kachim when it says twice the majority of one is enough. Once we've already taught that the majority of one is the same like the whole thing, why do we have to teach that the majority of one and the majority of two by a bird and the majority of two by an animal? He explains, because it was taught in a Mishnah. It's talking about the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. They bring him the morning sacrifice. Now, the rule is that the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur is supposed to do all the Avodah. It's a one-man job, the show. Everything on Yom Kippur is all the Kohen Gadol. Usually all the Kohenim divided up. So they bring him the Karban Tamid. Kartzu. Kartzu means that he shechts. I think it's using that word because he's not finishing the shechita. What is the Yiddish? To kratz. He's scratching. It comes from this, right? Isn't it? Kratz is to scratch. It's it's an expression that means what are you wasting your time for, right? So kartzu, he does a part of the shechita, umerak achar, and someone else completes it. Umerak achar shchitase al yadai, and someone else completes it. Al yadai means for him. B'shvilei, Rashi says. Now the reason why he does this is because he needs to catch the blood. We can't do a shechita and catch the blood at the same time. So he starts the shechita until it's valid. Let's add that in, even though we're going to discuss that. And then he hands the knife over to someone else without a pause of that would be too long. The other person finishes it, and he quickly gets the vessel.
How many times do they have to practice that till they get it right?
Who just told me? He said if you don't get things right the first time, then skydiving is not your thing. Okay. So Yachal Leimerek Yehi Pasal. Maybe if the other person doesn't finish it off, it would be Pasal. It's okay anyway, because he did the majority. Okay? So is the end of our Mishnah. It's referring to Kachim. It's referring to the sacrifice. Okay. Amar Mar, Master taught. We're going back to explain Reish Lakish. Is it possible that if the other person doesn't complete it, it would be invalid? Imkain, if so, how could you think that? if the other person is required, then it would be considered that you did the avodah on Yom Kippur with someone else. Vitanya, kol avodas Yom Kippur min ksher salabai. And we learned that in Yom Kippur, all the avodah needs to be done by the Kohen Gadol. The Gemara explained Tachi Kamar. This is what it means to say Yachal Yepasal Midirabanan. Could have thought that it needs to be completed Midirabanan. Midirabanan, it would be invalid because you have to finish the Shechita. Sal Kadait Chamina, could have entered my mind to say Ikapsul Midirabanan, that Midirabanan, I need to finish off the Shechita. That's why it tells me that no, you don't need to finish it off, it's already valid. Now the Gemara says, so if it's not even a rabbinic law, so why do you need to do it? We just taught the Kohen Gadol did majority. It says mitzvah lamarik. It's a mitzvah. It doesn't make it possible, but it's a mitzvah. Rashi says two possibilities why it's a mitzvah. He says the first possibility is that it's because of blood, to get more blood out. So that's why we do it. Second possibility is because Berevam Hadras Melech, they have more people doing the service. He says he doesn't accept that. He says, what's the expression here? Ein li b'yomer kach. My heart doesn't accept this.
Doesn't feel right.
Taisva says, Yaakov, this is what you mentioned, that even by Chullin, you're supposed to cut the whole thing. You should really cut the majority, the whole thing, even by Chullin. So he's asking, so why is it mitzvah lamarik is a special din in over here by Kachim, but really by Chullin we also have. Okay. Farshim ask over here that we're all concerned about the Shechita. The Shechita is not an avodah anyway. The Shechita is very bizarre. It's a funny thing that we're making such a big deal about the Kohen Gadol doing the Shechita or someone else doing the Shechita. That's not. Okay. Amar Reb Shimon ben Lakish Mishum Levi Saba. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's stop over here.